welcome to our planning committee. First of all, I must read out this for everybody here. Planning committee where members of the public are present. Welcome to the meeting of the planning committee. We are recording this meeting this evening using our webcasting system. The webcast will be transmitted live and also be available on the council's website following the meeting. Generally, the public seating area are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recording for webcasting or training purposes. I have the discretion to stop or suspend the recording of the meeting should this be necessary to maintain the proper running of the meeting. This is a meeting of the council held in public. It is not a public meeting. All mobile devices should be switched off or set to silent so that the meeting is not interrupted by ringtones. Also, anyone else attending to film or audio record any part of the meeting is asked to do so in a manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Please refrain from filming the public gallery or public speakers on items. If the fire alarm sounds, leave by the nearest exit and the officers will advise when it's safe to return to the meeting. Procedures for each item. The planning officer will present their report and committee members will ask any points of clarification. The meeting will allow those who have given notice that they wish to address the committee on a particular application to do so. Each person will be invited to come forward to the table at the front of the public seating area. Will have 3 minutes to give their views. Once all comments have been given, the meeting will then continue for members of the committee to discuss the application and reach a decision. No further comments may be made by members of the public. Thank you. We go on to item 1, apologies for absence. Have I any apologies for absence? No, thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest and lobbying. None? Oh, Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I've been lobbied on the item concerning Dry Street.
I think I've had emails as well on that one as well. Informations of the minutes of the planning committee. Oh, sorry,
Sorry, Chair, at the risk of being repetitive, I've also been lobbied on item 8, the Dry Street application, by email. I haven't digested the contents of the email and my mind is open. Thank you.
Item 3, confirmations of the minutes of the planning committee held on the 12th of March 2025. Any problems with them? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Before I go on to item 4, we've had a bit of a change in the agenda. I can't hear you. Ah, right. Councillor Callaghan, abstention for the minutes, yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Going back to the agenda, I'm going to go on to item 4. I'm not going to change that. But item 7, I will replace item 7 for item 5. So I will squeeze that in between because we have people here that obviously want to speak on it. Okay, is everyone happy about that? Okay, thank you. Item 4, construction and operation of a solar photovoltaic farm, together with ancillary infrastructure and equipment, landscaping and access land at Great Crowbridge Grange Farm, London Road, Billericay. I think that's you, Gordon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, as you correctly identified, the application is for a construction of a new solar farm on land at Great Cowbridge Grange Farm in Billericay. This is the site location plan. The site extends to approximately 16.5 hectares, of which 9.1 hectares is within the Basildon Borough and the remainder is within the Brentwood Borough. So, as you can see on this location plan, the area on the right, comprising 2 fields, is within the Basildon Borough and forms part of the site that you're considering tonight. The River Wid is identified in black dashed lines, forms the borough boundary, with the land to the west of that in the Brentwood Borough, which comprises the vehicular access to the solar farm, along with another field which has been applied for the part of the solar farm. I should also bring to your attention an update sheet. Brentwood Borough Council have now approved their portion of the application site for information. So there's an aerial photograph of the part of the site that we have control of. The site is adjacent to Shenfield and Hutton sewage treatment works to the west, which also incorporates some existing solar panels. Old Church Lane and Mount Nessing Road to the north, beyond an intervening gas peaker generator site. The Greater Anglia Railway site, line to the south, beyond some intervening agricultural grassland. Bluebell Wood, comprising the nearest residential properties, is to the east, approximately 250 to 300 metres away. There's a public right-of-way, number 12, which runs also to the east and north along Bluebell Wood. I think that's shown on the next slide. Yeah, this just shows the application site relative to the public right-of-way. I don't know if you can see that in the pink dots is the public right-of-way. So there's a good distance between the public right-of-way and the application site, with an intervening woodland to the north. This is a view I took from the public right-of-way at the end of Bluebell Wood. So this field is between the public right-of-way and the next field that would contain the solar farm. So it's not this field, it's the hedgerow boundary on the horizon there, behind which would be the solar farm. So you can see there's some existing hedgerows and trees which help to minimise the visual appearance of it in the wider area. This is the proposed site plan. Oh, let me go back one. So the panels will be laid out in horizontal rows with a 12-degree angle facing south. There would be a distance of 2.5 metres between the rows. Each row would comprise panels of up to 2.4 metres in height above ground level at the highest point, 0.85 metres at the lowest point. Within the site there would also be 2 small substation containers. I don't know if you can quite see that in little pink dots, and each of those would be up to just under 3 metres in height. And this is sort of the proposed landscape layout plan, showing the existing trees and hedgerows which would be reinforced with additional planting and new grassland around the periphery. During the briefing, one of the councillors raised the question where the nearest substation would be that this site would connect to. It's called Gooseberry Green substation. We did find it's just to the in Warrington Square in the southeast corner of this plan, but there's an existing connection to that site from our site via an existing gas peaker generator station in the Brentwood part of the site. So I've identified the gas peaker generator plant top left, our site with the red star just below that, and then the Gooseberry Green substation at the bottom right, where there's that existing cable connection, so you wouldn't need to provide new cables to link to that substation. This plan just shows the panels, typical panels, and then we're being enclosed by 2 metre high mesh deer-proof fencing along with the gate, and that just shows the substation. And there would also be CCTV cameras placed on poles, 3 metre high poles every 50 metres along the periphery. So in terms of the consultation, some 60 residential properties in the wider vicinity of Bluebell Wood and Mount Nissing Road were consulted, together with a site notice and press notice. This generated 22 responses, 20 objections and 2 of comment. A summary of the objections are listed on page 30 of the agenda. In terms of statutory consultation responses, these are listed on pages 25 to 29 of the agenda. So the key issues are: the site is within the Greenbelt, so the questions arise are whether the proposed development would be inappropriate within the Greenbelt and its impact on openness, whether any harm by reason of inappropriateness and any other harm would be clearly outweighed by other considerations so as to amount to very special circumstances to justify the development, the effect of the development on the character and appearance of the area, including the wider landscape, other considerations including highways, impact on residential amenity, flood risk and ecology. In terms of the principle of the development, as I mentioned, the site is in the Greenbelt where there's a presumption against inappropriate development. Paragraph 160 of the NPPF states that when located in the Greenbelt, elements of many renewable energy projects will comprise inappropriate development such that they would need to demonstrate very special circumstances. Such circumstances may include the wider environmental benefits associated with the increased production of energy from renewable sources. In addition, in December 2024, the concept of grey belt was introduced by the government in the updated NPF and has been considered by officers. A review of the Council's green belt study in 2023 findings would indicate that the site would fall within the grey belt category in this instance, and as such it would not amount to inappropriate development in principle, as, where a consideration of openness would not also apply. However, were members to take a different view and it's not considered to constitute grey belt, officers have then gone on to consider whether there are very special circumstances in any event that would outweigh the perceived harm to the openness of the green belt. I've also included 4 enclosures just to identify other appeal decisions the council's had in the borough and an Oxfordshire appeal decision relating to other solar farms in the green belt. So the ones included enclosures are Craigshall Farm, White's Farm and Park Farm, known as Crouch Solar Farm, that were allowed on appeal. Members will also be aware that recently approving solar farm at Barleylands Farm, and there's an older one at Outwood Common Farm. I put the Oxfordshire appeal decision in because that related to a large area of green belt, around 60 hectares, which was considered to constitute grey belt as well, for information. In terms of the effect of the development on the character and appearance of the area, the application was accompanied by a landscape and visual impact assessment, which has been reviewed by officers in collaboration with landscape colleagues from Essex County Council's Place Services. The site comprises 2 gently sloping fields. If I just go back a couple just to get, here's just to show you the site plan. The fields slope west-northwesterly in orientation. It's identified that the landscape has a medium overall sensitivity to change, but is nevertheless considered capable of accommodating the development in this instance in the manner and the design proposed, subject to additional landscape mitigation measures being incorporated to the site boundaries to strengthen and reinforce the existing hedgerow boundaries, with hedges to be maintained at not less than 2.5 to 3 metres in height, which is higher than the 2.4 metres of the height of the solar panels. There would be a limited overall level of adverse harm to the wider landscape arising from the proposals in this instance. In terms of the loss of agricultural land, the application is accompanied by an agricultural land classification report, which identifies the land as 3B moderate quality agricultural land owing to the soil's wetness. The development would not result in the loss of the best and most versatile land for agriculture in this instance, and nevertheless would continue to be available for agriculture in the form of sheep grazing. The operation would also be for a temporary, albeit 40-year period, which, whilst long, is reversible. The proposed development would therefore not significantly harm agricultural interests. In terms of the impacts on residential amenity, notwithstanding the objections we've received, you'll note that the nearest residential properties are around 250 to 300 metres away to the west, to the east, A number of the residents raised concerns about the construction period, the potential impact on Mount Nessing Road and Bluebell Wood. The application is accompanied by a construction management plan which identifies the construction vehicles would arrive via the Brentwood side from the A12 down Old Church Lane to the application site, so they wouldn't need to use Bluebell Wood or Mount Nessing Road. The application is also accompanied by a noise impact assessment and a glint and glare assessment. The panels will also be non-reflective surfaces to minimise glint and glare. The Council's Environmental Health Service has reviewed these and raises no objection. The construction is expected to take around 6 to 9 months, with the majority of the work undertaken within the first 6 months. As I mentioned, the access would be via the Brentwood side, with construction to be conditioned between 8 AM and 6 PM Monday to Friday, 8 AM to 1 PM on Saturdays. In terms of the highways considerations, whilst the access is on the Brentwood side, the Highway Authority has been consulted and have raised no objection to the application. A transport statement advises once in operation, it would generally operate unmanned with a vehicle visit once every 2 weeks. To oversee the functioning of the facility, cleaning of panels, etc. Turning space would also be provided within the site for fire engines, which has been accepted by the Fire Authority upon reconsultation. A flood risk assessment has also been submitted and a drainage strategy. The site is within flood zone 1. The River Wid is flood zone 3, but the panels are set clear of that. The County Council, as lead local flood authority, has been consulted and raises no objection subject to conditions. In relation to ecology, all major development applications are expected to achieve a minimum 10% biodiversity net gain over a baseline figure. The application is accompanied by a preliminary ecological appraisal and BNG metric, which identifies between 40 to 60% overall BNG over the existing levels. This exceeds the minimum 10%, as I mentioned. No objection has been raised by the county ecologist, subject to suitable biodiversity enhancement and management conditions. Other aspects, heritage assessment has been provided with the application and an archaeological desk space assessment. Heritage officer has been consulted, raises no objection. The nearest listed buildings are over 800 metres away and will be screened from the development. The county archaeologist raises no objection subject to standard archaeological investigation conditions. The Essex Police's designing out crime officer has also been consulted and would like further details regarding the security measures. Whilst details have been provided, we're minded to put additional condition that those details to be formally agreed between us in consultation with the Essex Police's designing out crime officer for the avoidance of doubt. So in terms of the planning balance, in terms of the positives, there's a level of renewable energy generation created is a significant positive. This amounts to about 10 megawatts, or just shy of, I think it was enough power to power just under 5,200 homes and displacing just under 4,000 metric tonnes of carbon dioxide. The lack of alternative sites is also a significant positive. The applicants have reviewed any other sites within 500 metres of the point of connection, being the gas peaker site, and found that this site is the most preferable, and it's the furthest from listed buildings. It has less impact on the agricultural land classification, and other sites were discounted because of they were to the south of the railway line where they couldn't get the cables. The ecological and biodiversity net gain elements are also a significant positive. The temporary, albeit long-term, nature and reversibility of the scheme is also a limited positive, along with the direct grid connection. If members, as I mentioned, were minded not to consider it grey belt and it's green belt, the consideration of openness is considered. Nevertheless, that is considered to have a limited adverse negative impact on the openness in this instance, because the visual impact is limited, as the panels can be quite well screened from the existing public rights of way. Loss of moderate quality agricultural land will be put as a moderate negative, notwithstanding that there will be some reduction in agricultural use or quality of the land, but it would still be available for agricultural use via sheep grazing and it's for a temporary period, so that the apparatus can be removed and put back to its original condition after that period of time. And we've also said a limited impact on the landscape. So on that basis, the application is therefore recommended to members to be granted a temporary 40-year planning permission subject to the conditions set out at pages 52 to 60 of the agenda. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Gordon. I'll open it up now for clarification. Is there any clarification to the officers? Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Gordon, for your report. I just wonder, because I haven't read the biodiversity net gain report. I've obviously read your report and looked at a couple of others. But in terms of the applicant advises that it's been increased to 60.17 of what it currently is. Can you explain what exactly they're doing, if possible?
Yeah, so along with reinforcing the boundary hedges, so new hedges, and there'll be additional trees planted within that. I think there's additional grassland, sort of wildflower grassland around the perimeter. It was updated during the process following comments from the Environment Agency about the trying to avoid a further access over the River Wid. The applicants confirmed there wouldn't need to be another bridge over the River Wid. They'd be using the existing, and they did a further B&G metric, and that resulted in upgrades. I think it was to do with the additional hedgerows, and there were some watercourse improvements as part of that led to that change. Yeah, in any case, it was above the 10%, so it's between 40 and 60. I can't exactly clarify exactly what that difference is.
Do you wish to come back on that?
I've got another question.
Okay.
Thank you. Anglian Water obviously said they had no objection, but obviously directly north and west of the site is one of their sewage plants. I just wondered if they made any comments at all, because obviously if, this 1.5 million housing target, that possibly will need to be expanded in the future. And obviously if this is going to be round it, then they're sort of limited in space. And when you sort of look at the greenbelt factors, now this is, recommended to be approved, the amount of land west and north of that site would surely then become particularly strongly recommended to be kept as greenbelt because of its distance between Billericay and Hutton. So I just wondered in terms of if there was any comments at all from Anglian Water about what they feel for the future.
I don't think they commented on the capacity of the water treatment works in this instance. No. I mean, and of course it's outside of their site. Yeah, it'd be for them to work out whether they've got sufficient capacity within their site or how they seek to expand it at some later date.
Blake.
Thank you, Jess. Just a couple of points. In the report here, when someone's put it, I think it's Billericay Town Council said it's good agricultural land. You're saying it's moderate. So have they got that wrong, in your opinion?
I can only go by the applicants did an agricultural land classification assessment, which identified that arising from the wetness of this part of the site that it would fall within class 3B agricultural land. The borough doesn't comprise any one or two best quality. It does comprise, I think, well, not to the degree that we've assessed at a borough-wide level. I think our classification at the borough-wide level just identifies it as class 3, so it doesn't differentiate between 3A and 3B. But they've looked at the report and they've classed it as 3B. So I can only go on what they've advised.
So the applicant is the one that done the test on it. Right. Is that normal? And just, I mean, what I was thinking, maybe it's better to have something like that done from an outside body, wouldn't it?
They would do.
I just find it strange that an applicant would want an assessment. Bear in mind that is doing the assessment will know that they want it to go through. I'm not saying they would do anything underhanded, but surely an independent person, when you have any assessments like this, generally would be far better in any planning application. I have to add, makes common sense. Otherwise, you could be biased towards the applicant. Could be.
I take your point. I mean, they would have gone to an agricultural consultant to do the test to determine what the level of quality of the agricultural land is. We wouldn't normally do the test ourselves other than a high-level borough-wide sort of area. So,
I get what you're saying.
Yep.
I do get what you're saying. I just find it strange that overall that you got an assessment being done by somebody who wants something to go through, rather than have an independent assessment, because somewhere along the line, Billericay Town Council have got the impression that it's good agricultural land, and here we are saying it's moderate by somebody who's employed by the applicant to make that decision. Just seems a bit strange, but okay, you've answered the question. That's what it is. That's what it is. You mentioned something about was it 2 generators?
there's 2 substations.
Substation, okay.
Like containers. If I go down to I'll show you the picture.
No. My point, it's irrelevant to that. My point is, I think the last time we had a planning application come in, somebody got planning permission on a solar farm, and then decided their generators weren't big enough. A substation weren't big enough, and they came back retrospective and said, "Oh, it wasn't big enough." Can they guarantee that what they're putting in place this time is correct, unlike the last application we had for solar farms, which we actually all of us realised was wrong? We weren't in a position to do anything about it because the solar farms wouldn't happen. But can we have a guarantee from them that they are big enough so we don't have to have a retrospective planning permission again?
I understand that the agent for the development is here, and they may be able to answer that question when they speak on it.
Does this have any effect on the at all? I'm trying to get my head around the planning of it with the 480 homes that were in the Mount Nessing Road area only a few months or so ago. Does that have any effect on that at all? Or am I totally out of the planning area? No, it's not my ward. This comes into another ward.
I'm not sure what site that is, to be honest, Councillor.
Okay. Can you confirm this is Billericay West Ward?
I believe so. Yeah.
Councillor Blake, I don't think that question was relevant.
It is relevant.
Yeah, no, it is Councillor Billericay West, yes.
So, no, that's fine. So Councillor Baker's comment that it's my ward is actually wrong because it's not Bursted. Is that correct?
It's not Bursted Ward.
Thank
no.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. There's no other questions, right? Anybody else? Councillor Mike Baker.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Gordon, can you just give us an overview of the potential positive impact on electricity supply in the area that this proposal would deliver, please?
Yes, thanks, Councillor. Yes, so the applicants confirmed it would have a 10 megawatt connection and it would operate at that 10 megawatts. So it wouldn't be able to exceed that, but they've advised that the way it's designed with close proximity to that point of connection, it would be able to operate at the 10 megawatts for this amount of land, and that would generate electricity for just shy of 5,200 homes, or equivalent to just under 4,000 metric tonnes of carbon dioxide displacement.
Sorry, pardon my technical ignorance, but is that all year round, weather dependent, or?
Okay, I don't have the detail. I should imagine it would fluctuate depending on the time of year. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Is there any more questions? Councillor Myers.
Thank you. Just to follow on from Councillor Blake's comments about the recently approved decision of Mount Nessing Road and London Road, this is very close to that. So obviously it has been approved subject to Section 106 agreements. The outline application and the layout was agreed at the committee. Reserved matters to follow, but the general layout is there. I'm just wondering how far away these panels are from those houses.
So, so this is at the northwestern end of Great Cowbridge Grange Farm. I'm aware, yeah, the land north of London Road, western Mount Nessing Road, is at the far southeastern end of Great Cowbridge Grange. It's about a kilometre, I believe. So it's about a kilometre from the site here to the Gooseberry Green substation. So it would be around about a kilometre. You could the land that's subject to the residential development is to the southeast of this plan, just below that red star, if I recall, below the line of the railway line.
Any more questions?
No, just for a clarification of where it was. That was
Oh, okay. Okay.
It is relevant because it's in the report about the plan.
It forms part of the wider site history because it's part of Great Cowbridge Grange Farm.
Anybody else? No? Alex? No? No? Okay. We move on then. Now we've done clarifications. Will I be able to call Emma Waglan on behalf of this, please? Thank you, Emma. Just press the button in front of you. Thank you.
Are you happy for me to start? Good evening. My name is Emma Wagland and I'm Project Manager at Conrad Energy and for this solar scheme at Billericay. The urgency of addressing climate change has never been more pressing. The UK is committed to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050, and this application aligns with national and regional goals to transition toward renewable energy sources. Solar power in particular has become a key pillar of this transition, offering a clean and sustainable way to generate electricity while reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. The government have set out an ambition under Clean Power 2030 to deliver clean power, with solar providing a significant contribution to this. As explained within the application, this project is slightly different to a regular solar farm application because Conrad Energy are looking to connect into their existing operational flexible generation site, which is located next to the sewage treatment works. Flexible generation sites typically operate at peak periods of time of system stress. Therefore, this proposal allows Conrad Energy to utilise the existing 10 megawatt grid connection when the flexible generation site is not running. The site is split between two planning authorities, Basildon Council and Brentwood Borough Council. Brentwood Borough Council decided to determine this application via delegated powers and approved it this afternoon. This proposal has been designed to harness the full potential of solar energy. The site has been carefully selected for its suitability in terms of location, being located directly south of our flexible generation site. This means the highway roads will not need to be dug up to connect the private wire, minimising disruption in the local area. There is also limited impact on surrounding areas, being next to the sewage treatment works and away from residential properties. The design of the solar farm ensures minimal disruption to the local environment through utilising the existing access to the site and having measures in place to protect biodiversity and the surrounding natural landscape. The scheme achieves 60% biodiversity net gain in the site, which is well above the 10% in planning policy. The solar panels are also positioned in a way which minimises visual impacts, with additional landscape planted for mitigation. The application is also fully reversible at the end of its 40-year lifespan. The proposal is compliant with local and national policy with no conflicts identified. It will directly contribute to delivering on the ambition for a green, low carbon and more secure energy supply, whilst the specific merits of the site location concerning noise, landscape and visual impact on the local surroundings have been demonstrated in the planning application and associated responses. In conclusion, this application represents an important step forward in our efforts to build a sustainable future for generations to come. Noting the recommendation for approval in your officer's report, we hope that members recognise the clear need and benefits of the scheme to approve the application, and they will support the proposal for the solar farm and approve the application. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Emma. If you'd turn the button off for us, thank you very much. Just open it up to the committee now. Any questions? Any questions from anybody? Alex.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't got any questions, but I'm happy to talk on the application. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah, I think this is a really good site for a solar farm. Actually, it's right next to a great big sewage works, so you know we're not exactly going to be building houses there. No one's going to want to live next to a great big sewage treatment work, are they? So so it makes sense for this place to be where the solar panels go. As we've heard, the construction vehicles are coming from Billericay, from the Brentwood side, so there won't be any issues in Billericay for that. It's going to be powering 5,200 homes, so I'm sure the application that Councillors Blake and Myers were talking about earlier will benefit from this site, because it will be green energy that's powering those homes that are being built just down the road. So yeah, I really don't see an issue with this one. There's a need for green energy in the borough, and this is going to deliver it.
Thank you, Alex. Councillor Kevin Blake.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points. I do laugh, and it's not just this application, it's many applications with a comment we're fully reversible in 40 years' time. We don't know that's going to be the case. No one's been tested. I've had this argument before. One thing that I don't like it. I don't see why all the houses that we're not passing at the moment. If solar energy is so good, why aren't we having them built on the houses that are being built? Why do we then have to use all this green belt, moderate green belt land to actually build solar farms, when we actually, if we put these solar energy into the actual houses and make that a condition maybe the council can do, why not? It actually would have prevented all this green belt being destroyed. So I mean, I don't suppose there should be many arguments against that one. But it was mentioned earlier, and this is whether I want to know whether we can put condition. I can see what's going to happen. I don't actually support it for the reason I just gave. And if it's that important, then we should be putting on the housing. And I don't argue with what you said. It is very important about the zero energy. It was mentioned that hedges are going to be put. We can see that these are not actually small, and they are quite high. Can we put a condition in that they put in mature hedging in, rather than say hedging? Can we? I don't know where we can, because hedging can be down here, and it's going to take God knows how many years for it to grow to a substantial height for it not to be an eyesore. Can we put a condition in that these hedgings must be of a certain height? I generally don't know where we can, but it seems sensible, because actually within, right from day one, people don't see an eyesore. They haven't got to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they can actually not see an eyesore.
I'm happy to answer that. I mean, we wouldn't normally require that. I mean, it's expected that there would be some limited time whilst the landscaping takes time to establish. Typically, they would be whips of hedges, but they tend to take quicker than if you try to plant sort of partly more mature hedging. But of course, there are existing hedges and trees here already, so a lot of that has been maintained quite low, and so that if they just don't trim it, then it will grow up as well. So it shouldn't take too long. In any case, I think because of the reasonably well contained nature of the site and the topography of the site, notwithstanding that looking to put additional hedging in, it's not that readily visible from the existing public right of way 300 metres to the east anyway. With the topography going away from you from that viewpoint, it probably wouldn't be necessary.
Anybody else? Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify with you, Gordon, in terms of the construction management plan, as we've recently heard of the trucks and the construction workers coming down the A12 and then going through Brentwood to the Old Church Lane. I just wondered in that, sorry, excuse me, in that construction management plan, whether or not we could also additionally condition that the trucks will not be coming through near Bluebell Woods as a condition, because I know it's in their construction management plan and they have to follow it, but there's nothing to say that some trucks may come elsewhere depending on where deliveries come from, because they all use sat-nav.
I mean, I don't believe that should be necessary if they stick to the plan that's approved. I was just double checking.
Councillor Myers, just while Gordon's checking that, I think, giving it some thought, I don't think it would be an enforceable planning condition that we could impose on that.
Sorry, just briefly, but in Shoeby Ness, where Bellway are building 260 houses and raising the ground by 6 metres, there are enforceable routes of which the trucks can go.
Yeah, I think that's probably because Southend are a unitary and are therefore the highway authority. Obviously, Essex is the highway authority for us.
Sorry, bear with me a moment. I was just double checking because the highway authority didn't raise an objection on, in this instance, they were going to comment further on the Brentwood aspect because they're the ones who've got the vehicular access. Notwithstanding that, obviously there was that construction management plan submitted confirming that they would come via the Brentwood side, which would be, if it's not conditioned by us, it would be conditioned by. Yeah, no, we do have condition. Yes, so condition 20, prior to commencement of development construction, environmental management plan shall be submitted to and approved by the authority. Details of access to the site. Apologies, sorry, I was just checking to see the extent of the condition 20. I mean, if it doesn't specifically say, you could add a criteria that the details of the exact routing to be agreed or something along that line as part of that construction environmental management plan. Notwithstanding, I think that was shown in their submissions that they would be coming via the A12. So I think that's what they're thinking.
Councillor Myers, okay.
Yeah, thanks for that, Gordon. Charles, can we confirm if that extra bit of writing would be acceptable?
We could ask for details of the construction routing, yeah.
Councillor Mike Baker.
Thanks, Chair. Sorry, I know this is not really my question to answer, but I know this area really well. You can't get to the site via Bluebell Wood. The only way you can get to it in a vehicle is via Church Lane.
It's close enough.
You can't. You have to drive through somebody's private house to get to it,
It's close enough. It's not.
and you can't do it, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for letting me back in, Chair. Just on Councillor Blake's point about this particular site being an eyesore. Obviously, it's far away from any roads or houses, but also, I mean, you've got a great big sewage plant right next door. If you think that the solar panels are the thing that's the eyesore there, you know, the sewage plant is going to be much taller than I imagine. It's much taller. I haven't actually seen it myself, but I imagine it's much taller in height than the solar panels. As we've heard, there's going to be bushes around it. I'm looking on Google Maps. There are bushes around the sewage plant, but you know they I don't know how tall they are. I'm assuming they're not as tall as the actual plant. So yeah, this idea that this is going to be the big eyesore in that area. I'm not buying that at all. Thank you, Chair.
Blake.
Yeah, I was more than happy with the officer's answer. I don't know why you're going on about it. I was more than happy with the answer the officer gave. Perfectly explained. Absolutely fine.
Any more? Anybody else? No? Didn't want to come back on that, Alex? No? Okay. I'd just like to say, I don't quite agree with you, Councillor Blake. Well, shame, yeah. I don't agree with it. It's destroying the land, because it doesn't destroy the land, because after usually 25 years, if the solar farm doesn't want to be there anymore, it can go back to the land. Or perhaps it's 40 years, but usually it's 25. Yeah. It depends, they might have moved on now, it might be 40 years. Okay. No, it's not that. We've had it before and it was 25. I do beg to differ, Emma, on that. But I don't think it destroys the land. We won't be around in 40 anyway, hopefully. I do agree with what Alex had to say as well. I think it's a good idea as well. As this week, as we know, we've had mass blackouts. So anything that helps is good. I mean, we haven't had them here yet, but it could happen. So I haven't got a problem with them. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Myers? No?
After you.
Okay. Councillor Myers.
Thank you. It's interesting because one of the preliminary reports that came out from Spain was that because of a large uptake of wind and solar panel farms, was that it actually overloaded a few of the substations, which led to the blackout over the weekend. If you read some of the documents from the
Yeah, but I don't always. I don't
no, I'm
always
just saying.
read
No,
what
you're
they put in
you're talking
paper.
about.
It could have been.
No, you're talking about
They said it could have
blackouts.
been.
You're talking about blackouts, and there was a blackout, and they said the RME, who are the Spanish energy operator, basically said that they lost connections to France and to Morocco because of high renewable energy temperatures and wind going on, but the substations couldn't handle it, and therefore it just corrupted the system and just all went down, and the whole country was blacked out. That is on many sources, but that's come from a Spanish
Well,
energy
does.
provider. Same as we've got.
All
national.
I'm saying, it does help. It does help at the moment.
You're talking about blackouts. We haven't got them here yet, but I'm just saying what perhaps
Well,
caused
we might not
the one
get
in
them
Spain. Just saying.
Okay. Any more? Anything else? No. So we go straight into the recommendation, which is that the planning application number 2401 12624 be granted planning permission subject to the conditions set out in the end of this report, with any amendments that might be necessary up to the issue of the decision notice. All those in favour, please show. Any abstentions? All those against? Thank you. It is granted. Now, a change in the agenda. We will go on to item 7, which is item 5, which is full construction of 2 number 2 retirement bungalows on south of Dry Street, Langdon Hills, Basildon. I think this is you, David.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry about that. So it relates to an application that came to the committee on the 26th of February. The proposal is for the construction of 2 retirement bungalows on land south of Dry Street in Langdon Hills. Just show the site. So I'll do a brief skip through the application itself. Members, at the time, didn't go with the officer recommendation, and therefore the application was deferred for this meeting to give you a full report on the various options to either refuse it or grant it with the conditions and a potential obligation towards the proposed use. So if I just skip through the slides so you can know what the application is, particularly Councillor Callaghan. I think you were missing last time, if I believe so. So the proposal is, say, 2 bungalows, site at the junction of Dry Street and Northlands Approach. There's a kind of former plotland area, and it's in the Greenbelt. So the site is vacant at the moment. You've got a new house to the west, and a mix of chalets and bungalows in this area. Just a few slides around the site itself. So it's kind of a semi-rural in character. Proposal is for 2 bungalows, retirement bungalows, 1 3-bed and 1 4-bed, with 2 parking spaces, 2 parking spaces plus some visitor space, and the gardens on the east side of the properties. The proposal will have limited impact on neighbouring properties. There's adequate separation, and no impact in terms of overlooking or aspects such as that. The design is of a kind of, I suppose, Essexy barn type appearance, black cladding, red brickwork, and red roof tiles. And the proposed bungalows themselves have been designed to be wheelchair accessible, so slightly wider doorways and corridors to meet the relevant building regulation standard. So the aspects we looked at last time in terms of the issues were the impact on the Greenbelt, the various revisions on the MPPF, particularly grey belt, and the various special circumstances. So officers at the time felt that the proposal or the application site wasn't what we consider grey belt. Members had some of the members had different view on that, and the application was deferred. The applicant also puts forward some very special circumstances, which again officers felt were minimal and didn't impact or didn't justify the development on the site. So the application has been brought back to committee for you to make a decision either to refuse the application on the scheme or to approve it. The system involved is to do the first recommendation put forward at the last committee and decide whether you will go with the officer recommendation or to approve the scheme subject to the various conditions as set out on pages 155 to 161. That would also be subject to an obligation that the occupiers of the properties are of a retirement age, which in legal terms is 55 years or older. So therefore the application is being put to the committee for you to determine which recommendation you are happy to go for. If you need any clarification, give us a question. I'll try to answer that. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, David. Yes, as you rightly said, I had a substitute the last time this was discussed. Could you please clarify the debate? Because my understanding is we're following the most up-to-date national policy, like national planning policy framework, and some things have changed in designation of green belt versus grey belt, and so it'd just be good to know what the debate was.
At the time, the committee, well, let's say two options. There was we looked at the initial paragraph 154, which is to do with various exceptions, such as infill in the village and previous developed land that was set out in the original report. We didn't feel that the proposal met any of those exceptions, and then we looked at paragraph 155, which you're highlighting the term of grey belt. The officer report goes into the kind of aspect of what you call parcels set out in the various Greenbelt reviews the council has carried out as part of the local plan review. And looking at that, we felt the area as a whole, given the general openness of it, the officers felt that it didn't fall within the terminology of grey belt. However, members had a different view at the time, and we were therefore saying it was not appropriate development in the green belt. And then we considered the very special circumstances put forward by the applicants. They were they referred to previous policies in the withdrawn local plan that this area was to be an infill area. And again, that has no weight at all because the policies have been withdrawn. The lack of the housing supply in the borough, again, that does have some weight. The lack of elderly accommodation in the borough, again, we put forward limited weight on that because there's only two proposed, given the larger requirement there. Health and well-being benefits of the scheme, the support from various residents, and they put forward a minimal impact in the green belt. But again, that's more subjective in terms of your viewpoint, whether you feel it has an impact on the openness or not. So that's a very limited weight. And finally, they raised a comparison between this site and the home base site. There's been a previous, and we said there were totally different aspects to that, and that actually got refused by members in any case. So it didn't set any precedent on that aspect.
Thank you, David. Yeah, I do remember that the home base site was refused, but under paragraph 96 of the new NPPF, which said that we need to integrate well-being into the design of places. So I do agree with that. But from a layman's perspective, just looking at the photo, it's difficult to surmise that this will impact the openness when it's just taking up a small green space amongst a wide range of chalets and bungalows and plotlands there, if there is plotlands there. it's just really difficult to accept that looking at the aerial view on the screen. Thank you.
Any other clarifications, David? No? Mike? Alex? No? Emma?
Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Baker just tried to help me there understand that we're talking about a much wider parcel of greenbelt land. It's just, is it okay to ask David to clarify that? Because on the aerial view again, it looks like the parcel of land in question is closed off with various hedges around it. So it'd be good to see the scale of the area we're talking about.
The individual site, there are hedging around, well, one side's got the boundary with the neighbouring property, but there are hedges to the north and the west. The plot itself is split, so you've got no boundary on the southern proposed boundary because that's part of the field itself. So, individually, it's a small site, but the argument was that they look at the overall plotland area and the southwest area of the of Basel, and that was the officer's judgment at the time. Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Blake, did you wish to speak on this?
No, I might have
For any clarifications on it? No, nobody? Okay. So can I call Councillor Smith, please? Councillor Kerry Smith. Over there.
Right, there we go. Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the Planning Committee. I shan't repeat what I said, just some recent additions. That's all right, Councillor Blake. You have an eagle-eyed memory for previous planning committees, so there's no point going over old ground. But when I speak to the residents of Dry Street, where I'm the county councillor for, they all seem to be positive about it. Many residents who I represent in Langdon Hills see Mr Beckford, because he's built a number of schemes around Langdon Hills of very high quality. In fact, his house in Butler's Grove, I think to myself, if I win the lottery, I'm going to make him an offer. And that's what residents want. When people initially object to building on the green belt, they think, is this going to be tight? Is it going to bring the area down? These are two very high-end bungalows that we put there. So, as people know who are here tonight, Langdon Hills Ward has a higher age demographic, and thankfully we're all living longer, so that people may struggle with the stairs or a bigger house with a big garden that's really meant for a young family. If this application is approved tonight, that will mean 2 of my constituents will be able to downsize into a home that is of need for them, and more importantly, a younger couple can buy the house they've sold There's brilliant primary schools already in Langdon Hills, Great Berry and Lintswood, and there'll be the schools that are ready to take the new children. But if the houses near them are occupied with people who are getting on in life who don't have children, they've had their children, it seems a bit of a shame really. So I think this is a perfect opportunity. If this is approved tonight, this will be a quality application, enhancing the area of Dry Street, which is special, and people know that it won't be sold to someone who might do something that's not really appropriate, a scrapyard or something like that, something tatty. This is good. So I'll leave that there. You've all got perfect memories, I would assume, and that's fair enough. It's a nice evening, you'll want to get home.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Can I call Adam Beckford, please?
Good evening, Chair and members. Firstly, thanks for your support of the last hearing. It meant a great deal to me and my family business. I'm hoping for your continued support tonight to finally get this much needed scheme approved. But I do need to raise some real concerns about how this has been handled. At the last meeting, it was clear that this application could and should have been approved. The officer could have had draft conditions already, as it is standard. Instead, we've had a 9-week delay to approve 2 bungalows. To put that into perspective, we can build one of these bungalows in 12 weeks, yet it's taken 9 weeks just to move from a vote to a formal decision. These delays feel more like tactics than process, just as we saw with the site across the road at Well Green Cottage. It's not for the first time Dry Street has been unfairly treated. In the past, applications here were blocked from committee even when called in by members. That undermines public trust and shuts local people out of the process. And yet, while our small local support scheme is dragged out, the council recommended for approval a traveller site at the other end of Dry Street. Same green belt, different treatment. It's inconsistent and frankly it's unfair. We are local builders, building for local people. We hire local tradesmen and reinvest locally, but while large developments get weighed through, our sensitive, well-supported schemes face constant resistance. Now we're told that even if you approve this tonight, the decision notice won't be issued until a legal agreement is signed to restrict the homes to people aged 55 and over. Let me be absolutely clear. We fully support that restriction. It's the whole point of this scheme, but there's no reason that this has to be a legal agreement. A simple planning condition can achieve exactly the same result, and it's enforceable. Councils use age-based conditions all the time. An S106 it just causes more delay and extra cost. It's disproportionate. This site is now clearly a grey belt site under the 2024 NPPF. This proposal meets the policy. There is strong local support. There is no good reason to delay this further. I urge you to vote for this application with a condition, not a legal agreement, and show that this council supports local homes for local people delivered by local builders. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Adam Beckford. I'm going to now open it up to questions. Councillor Blake.
Well, I was one of those people that actually were in favour of this right from the word go. And if I was a nasty, rotten person, I'd have changed my mind. I haven't been spoken to like that, to be absolutely blunt. I thought that was appalling to speak to members who, whichever way they voted last time, that is their democratic right and ability to do it. It's what they believe in. They shouldn't be criticised for that, whichever way they vote on any planning application. That really wasn't a very good comment. Sorry, I'm talking, you don't talk while I talk. Thank you very much. I didn't interrupt you, you don't interrupt me. I did support this last time. As everybody knows, I was in favour of this application. I still am. I've always said since I said this before, but for Emma didn't hear this last time, she might as well hear it now. Since 1991, actually, then into 92, I've always believed in a special development policy within the Green Belt, within the plot land areas. Always have done, and always will. So I actually don't see any problems with this in the first place. So I would actually be supporting the actual recommendation that this actually goes through as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blake. Councillor Emma Callahan.
Thank you. I do want to come back in on the actual proposal, but I just want to point out Councillor Blake's issue with the applicant. But you know, Councillor Blake, you were fine with other members of the public gallery calling me a traitor for voting through a housing development previously. So I'd say the way the public gallery speak to members of the committee is fine with Councillor Blake when it's something that he's against.
I'll support them. I'm supporting them.
Yes,
Remember.
but I
So
just-
you got that wrong.
It's indivisible.
I'm supporting them.
I would just say that if there's a standard for how members of the public gallery speak to the members of the committee, it has never really been upheld up until now. And I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Anybody else? Councillor Myers.
Thank you. Sorry, just working out which side I was on. I fortunately, have not changed my mind since the last time, and so I do agree with the officer's original recommendation for refusal. Based on the fact that I do not believe that this particular parcel is grey belt. It's not previously developed land. I do not agree that it is infill in a village, of which was originally touted as the reason for approval. I think we go down a very, very slippery road as planners if we start looking at saying, it'll be built by Basildon tradespeople, it'll be housed for Basildon people, much needed retirement homes. While looking at policy, I do not agree that this particular application should be approved. In terms of the conditions that have been set out, if in case members do approve, obviously there will be some legal agreement because Essex Rams needs to be paid as well. These are 2 new dwellings. So they'll be looking for your paperwork. So is that correct?
No, he's already paid that. He doesn't
Already paid
need
that. Okay. So if it is refused, he can get his money back then. So those are the particular reasons. I've not changed my mind since the last time. I had my reasons then, and I still have those reasons now. Thank you.
Nice to see you're open-minded. Councillor Mike Baker.
Thank you, Chair. So, Dave, can you give us some information on the observation made by the developer about the difference between a planning stipulation and a 106 stipulation? Thank you.
I mean, there is you could put a condition on about ages. The difficulty is actually enforcing it, getting information from the occupier as to how old they are, that sort of thing. Whereas an obligation is highlighted more when you buy the property. That will be shown up as part of the search agreement, and then you would be aware of that restriction. And it's a lot more, well, not saying easier, but it's more enforceable than a condition in that sense.
And does it, as claimed, involve any delay in the process?
Well, the legal aspect in terms of the agreement has to be drawn up, and there will be a number of weeks for that to be completed, yes.
Any other? No? Go straight into the options then. For the Planning Committee to indicate agreement with the original recommendation above, or for the Planning Committee to indicate that they would be willing to grant planning permission with the following recommendations put forward. This planning application number 2401419 be granted planning permission subject to the completion of a S106 unilateral undertaking to secure an obligation that future occupiers of the proposed bungalow are to be persons of retirement age, i.e. 55 years of age or older, and subject to the conditions set out above. All those in favour, please show.
So we're going to need a vote on that, whether they agree with the original recommendation.
Oh, I see.
First
Oh,
of all,
okay.
That's one vote, and if they
Yeah,
don't, then we move on to
okay.
the second.
Sorry, that would be option 1 for the Planning Committee to indicate agreement with the original recommendation above. So, which it would have been, this is that, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
So take a
That-
vote on that.
yes, that the proposal represents inappropriate development within the green belt. That,
Yes.
yeah?
Can you go through it again, Mo? Sorry.
Sorry, I will go through it again. This is a recommendation. The proposal represents inappropriate development within the green belt, which is by definition harmful and prejudicial to the openness of the green belt. The very special circumstances that have been evidenced do not provide sufficient reason to justify a departure from the national planning policy framework. The proposed development would cause substantial harm to the openness of the green belt for these reasons. The proposed development is contrary to paragraph 153, 154E or the NPPF 2024. So that's one vote that we vote on now. Do you want the second that?
And the second, so there's two reasons for refusal, and that's the second reason.
Yeah, and the second reason for the refusal,
Yep.
which is 2 on the agenda, which is the introduction of 2 dwellings.
First recommendation is to refuse.
I'm just going to, yes, and the introduction of 2 dwellings on this site would result in an urban form of development harmful to the character and appearance of the semi-rural area and the unsympathetic to its local character and history, contrary to safe policy BAS BE12 of the Basildon Local Plan and paragraph 135C of the MPPF. And is that the vote now?
Yeah.
And then that's just one.
So the planning committee to indicate agreement with this recommendation to refuse. So
Yeah.
take a vote on that.
And then for the one that I read out originally, which is item 1, for the planning committee to integrate agreement with the original recommendation above. Dave, can you put your mic on and...
Yeah, we're going to the original refusal set out on page 160.
Yes.
Those 2 there. So you're voting on that, those reasons for refusal. Yeah.
Emma?
Thank you, Chair. Please forgive me if I've missed something. I believe that we were still talking about clarifications before going to the vote. So I, if possible, Chair, would like to expand on my thinking around it because I'm still not 100% clear of the council's position on Greenbelt because we have passed other, other developments based on these definitions and very special circumstances.
Yes, so Councillor Callaghan, go ahead.
I'm not sure of it myself, actually.
Is it further questions you wanted to ask? Yes, yes, that's fine, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, for allowing me to come back in on this. My understanding is that we were discussing clarifications, and I would just like to say that my understanding from the aerial view shown by officers and my understanding of the NPPF's designation of green belt versus grey belt, that it looks like, although the site is not formally classified as previously developed, from the picture, it looks like it functions more as an edge of settlement land than open countryside. It kind of tells me that we should allow for a degree of flexibility and discretion, especially in addressing housing need for vulnerable and older groups, in line with paragraphs 60, 124 and 165 of the NPPF. I would say that I do Councillor Smith's point that we're going for quality over quantity. We're talking about 2 developments that are age appropriate for an older demographic, allowing for other homes to become available within town centre and the other towns. I understand from the agenda that the scheme offers environmental and landscape improvements And I would just say that the harm that's been presented in the officer recommendation, it doesn't strike me as a particularly harmful development. And so I wanted to just put that on record, Chair, and thank you so much for your discretion there.
I'm not quite clear on it myself, really, because at the previous meeting, as we've said, it was approved, but it came back to this committee for reasons why, obviously, that we were going against recommendations. Is that right, Charles?
No.
recommendation was refused, so it comes back for a different one.
Yes.
So you're going to put the original recommendation for refusal to the committee now to vote on. And then,
So is that's item 1, isn't it?
yeah, that's item 1, which is,
Yeah.
so you've read out the reasons.
Yeah,
for
I've read out
refusal. So
1 and 2, and item 1, the original one is for the planning committee to indicate agreement with the original recommendation, which was the refusal. So all that I can vote on that. All those in favour? That's 1.
So those in favour of refusal.
Designation of the green belt, because my understanding.
Yes, we've got item 2 to vote on next. So that would cover that, yeah. So, yeah, so all those against, isn't it now, on that? Yes. All those against?
Against the option.
Yes, yes.
Against the original
Yes.